What's up, everybody? Paradigm Review Show, the Book of Boba Fett, Season 1. We waited a long time for this one. We were Mando Season 1 and Season 2 fanboys over here. You guys can check out the Mandalorian reviews here on the channel. Waited a long time for this, Mac. It's been since like the 70s. We've been waiting for Boba Fett to get any sort of project. They teased us with the Boba Fett solo film. We're going to be making a Boba Fett solo film. It's going to be epic. Da-da-da-da. Then they backed off of it because of SJWism. So what we got was the Book of Boba Fett. I'm not that mad at it. I'm a pretty big Robert Rodriguez fanboy, if I'm not mistaken. Mac is as well. 7 episodes. They kept it kind of clear and concise. There's some pretty good action sequences. There's also some kind of just totally eventless plateau lulls in between, and we'll kind of get into that. But I'm your host, Ross. This is Mac the Critic, Planet X Film. Make sure you like, subscribe, share if you like our content, and we have many other reviews that you guys can check out. Mostly vigilante revenge films, but we also do kung fu, action, history, sci-fi, fantasy, blah blah blah. Any initial thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett, Mac?
Well, to add on to what you said in the beginning, I'm kind of glad they didn't make it into a movie, just because, like, I'm sure, like, for this sort of like story and all that, you're gonna have to tell it in sections, you know. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of great scenes in most of the episodes, but at the same time, you know, you're critical about some other, you know, scenes also, and some stuff that, but well, we're gonna get into it all, you know what I mean? Definitely,
we're gonna get into it all.
Yeah, and all I can say is, you know, I'm not disappointed by it, you know, but at the same time, I will kind of expect a little more from it, but still, though, I was entertained, you know.
Yeah, I was entertained. I mean, I personally would have liked if it was kind of weird. So we're going to avoid major plot point storylines, guys, but some of this stuff we're going to cover would just be if you read any review or synopsis anyway, you would see this stuff. So, you know, in the original trilogy, the couple times you see him on Cloud City and on Vader's Star Destroyer and on Tatooine when he's with Jabba, and as well as the backstories, which I guess you would consider like non-canonical canon, the tales from the bounty hunters and all the original books that focused on Boba Fett, as well as the comics. Like, he does a lot more than just, although this is his previous career as a bounty hunter. We'll get to where he's at now as Lord Boba Fett, but he does a lot more than just sit on Tatooine. You know, we seen him on Cloud City back in the day. He goes all over the Empire and hunts, you know, rebels, or he just takes contracts. So I was hoping to see him do a little bit more exploration. Like, I felt like, you know, Mando did more exploration than Boba Fett did, and then we kind of find out like, okay, Boba Fett is inheriting Jabba's palace. I don't feel like that's a big spoiler, guys. That was literally in the trailer. So if you've seen the trailer, you should have figured that out. And then he's kind of just stuck on Tatooine for the whole thing. So what I like about that is his origin of being, initiated into that Sand People faction tribe. I mean, we'll get into our breakdowns of episode 1s and episodes 2. Like, that was epic because they've never really showed much about the Tusken Raiders, so we got to learn about their lore and their religion and their mysticism, their combat style. You got to learn a whole deep dive about them that you never got to see anywhere else, other than when Mando fought that crate dragon with the Raiders and Mandalorian, which was absolutely nuts. I don't know if there's anything quite that epic in this one, but yeah, I kind of expected him to do a little bit more, and then my other criticisms don't really come until the last couple episodes. But let's pop it off. So we start off where, well, I guess they have pretty short synopsises on this. Boba holds court, episode 1. We finally get to see what's going on. And also shout out to Tamora Morrison. He plays Boba Fett. I believe he's also the actor that played Jango in Clone Wars, right? Because Boba is a direct
Direct descendant of, somewhat a direct descendant.
Yeah,
of,
he's a direct
Jango.
clone, but he's not enhanced
Yeah.
how the other clone armies were enhanced. You know, they did certain things to make those guys more like subservient. He's like just a direct copy of his dad, who is Jango. Episode 1 pops off pretty hardcore. There's some pretty good action in it. I like how basically their way of explaining this is post Return of the Jedi for anybody who needs timeline confirmation. They do a pretty cool job of explaining how he escapes that Sarlacc pit, and basically what they do is they bounce back and forth between he's still regenerating from all the damage that he sustained in the Sarlacc pit, so he goes into that healing chamber, and when he's in the healing chamber, it causes him to have flashbacks. So that's how they show you everything that happened leading up to the book of Boba Fett storyline. So it kind of jumps back and forth between what's going on in the present storyline and what he was doing before that,
and what he was doing before that. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the many things that captured me about Book of Boba Fett, is because like the whole back and forth. You wondered, okay, how Boba Fett, he's here in the present time. How did he get out that like Sarlacc pit? And the show, like you said, it showed you that. And also, you mentioned the Tusken Raiders. It shows like his time with them. Just a little spoiler. He was captured, but you're gonna see the transition from that to how he became who he was right now. The Daimo.
We could go into that because I'm not too worried about it. It was last year, guys, 2021. So if you're a Boba Fett fanboy, you should be long past on top of this by now. But so as Max said, he does eventually escape out of there. When he wakes up, if I'm not mistaken, he's severely dilapidated from being in the bottom of the Sarlacc pit with all those other guys that fell in there, the skiffed guys, and he basically passes out from exhaustion and extreme fatigue, and that is when the Jawas scavenge his Mandalorian armor suit off of him, and he's just like left there for dead. That's when the Tusken Raider tribe happens upon him, and they take him and one of those guys from the Greedo race, that character Greedo from A New Hope. I forget what their species is called, but it's
Rodian.
Yeah. He's a red one of those, and they're the two captives. And I don't know, should we go into that? What happens that pops out of the sand there when Boba goes completely ham?
I mean, I guess we could talk about that one, right?
I mean, it's an epic fight. It's this freaking insectoid freaking reptile comes out of the freaking ground. He's kind of like a crate dragon, but not quite as big as a crate dragon, and he's more like a two-legged. And they have the guy, the character who's in charge of the two slaves of the tribe is like the Tusken Raider, like youngling. He's probably just like a preteen or a teenager or something, like a short dude. And basically, the whole time Boba's telling the Rodian, like, hey, dude, we should get the hell out of here. Like, if we help each other, we could escape this crap. And that guy's just like kind of being a wankster.
Man, he a rat snitch, man.
Yeah, he's a little fucking he's a little fucking scumbag, and he's not helping him. And that turns out extremely rough for him.
Yeah, he definitely did.
So basically, they're mining those eggs that are found in the sand, and that's what the Raiders have the slaves doing, because it's a water source that you can essentially drink the water when you're out there in the desert. That's how the Raiders survive.
That's how they survive.
Yeah, they're a desert species, a desert tribe, and much like the Fremen, which we covered in our Dune review. Check out our Dune review here; it's epic. Or that way, rather, by Mac. Just can't get this right on the camera's back.
It's all good. Don't even worry about it.
So the reptiles pop out of the freaking thing. He's about to just like ice those slaves, and they're going at it. And Boba is like chained up for the whole fight. Doesn't have his armor, mind you. This is like, you guys are used to seeing Boba with the armor on. What you don't know is he's a ridiculous lunatic badass without the armor. That's how he gets so epic. And he takes the chains and friggin' strangles that thing. And he essentially kills the fucking reptile with just the chains that he's chained with. So he just jumps on its back and choke lines it. And once the youngling sees that, he runs back to the tribe and is like, "This guy is the craziest guy ever." And they and based off that, his status is essentially upgraded from slave to they essentially like ultimately end up initiating him as
an apprentice and such, you know.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
He learns their whole culture and fighting style.
Pretty much. And this is like episodes like that got me hooked, sucked me into the series, you know, because it's like,
I agree.
Wow, this is kind of like the Mandalorian, except, you know, it's Boba Fett, and you know, fight scenes like this. See, it's fight scenes like this. They definitely like make it worth, you know, seeing what the main character is capable of, and you know, it's showing like how he learned to adapt, even in like the desert and fighting, you know, giant species like that, insectoid, like you said, man,
with
like,
no weapons, fucking like
no weapons at all, man.
Survivalism. So they basically make him up as this epic survivalist character, you know, for some of his origin. While that's going on, there's other through lines as well. Essentially what he's doing is he holds the new court at what used to be Jabba's palace, the old courtroom. And so he has everybody coming to him to give the donations that you're supposed to give the lord of the territory and stuff like that. And while he's doing that, he's also building out his new crew. And he has like those two, those orc kind of goblin guys. I forget what their race is called, but the two axe guys that used to be Jabba's minions, the two brothers, they basically...
I forgot. I know what species they are. I just call them green pigs, man.
I used to know that one, but yeah, they're like orc looking dudes, and they essentially join up with him. What up, MC Therapist? Check out the mantra. So yeah, and then he's building out his new crew, and then at the same time, there's also like issues with that because of the way Jabba left things before he passed, and you know, just the way that the you know, opposing factions that want to take over that territory as well because they know Jabba's gone and stuff like that. So he's basically going around, you know, doing all the diplomacy meetings that like, I'm the new lord in town and stuff like that. Just basically getting established, which is pretty cool. And that also trying to get funding for the, you know, to run the palace and the operations and whatnot, which is pretty sick. So it starts off pretty hot. There's some good action. There's some crazy scenes with the raiders and stuff like that.
Definitely is.
And chapter 2, the tribes of Tatooine. Boba faces new challengers on Tatooine, and this is kind of basically what happens is Jabba has his niece and nephew, I think it is.
Like those two the twins, that's what they call them.
The twins, So there's two more Hutts from the Hutt planet, and they pull up on him, and they're essentially like we're gonna take over Jabba's old palace and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I already claimed it," so it basically leaves them at a standstill.
Because their business on Tatooine and such. I mean, I like this episode because it kind of showed the notoriety of Boba Fett, you know. You know, basically even to two of the Hutt species and all that, I mean, he's able to just get at him like, you're not claiming nothing. I claim that territory. I'm the Daimo, you know. Try. Just go ahead and try, you know. And that's why I like them. So yeah, man, it was definitely entertaining. Some scenes were definitely pretty good on that one.
Yeah, for sure. He's still building out his crew and whatnot at this point. And at the same time, as we said, with all the stuff that's going on in the present storyline, you still have him going back in the chamber with the flashbacks, and this is where they go a lot more into depth of the Tusken Raider lore, and if I'm not mistaken, this is where they show basically he's worked his way up to essentially being like considered to be one of them. You know, they basically, even though he's not, you know, born on Tatooine or whatever, they essentially like you know what I mean, accept him into the tribe, which is dope because at this point they've both helped each other. He's kind of helped them with some stuff, and they've essentially taught him desert survivalism, so he can essentially survive out there with nothing.
Yeah, for real. I mean, they teach him all the aspects of like combat and you know, like you said, how to find the water, the food water.
Yep. The water source.
The water source. Yeah, but they had him dig, you know, for that stuff, you know, the sands and all that.
Yep.
Obviously, they had. I don't mean to backtrack. You know, in the first episode when they had like him and the Rodian just pretty much dig for that stuff and all that. But I mean, definitely when he killed the insectoid and all that, and you saw how the chief of the tribe, you know, he earned his respect and gave him the water and all that. Now the chief of the tribe in this episode and all, you know, is putting him through all the trials, you know, of survival. Tusken Raider. So
hell yeah,
this is definitely like one of the most interesting episodes, you know, that not to mention even the present like scenes were pretty good too, like what you call Boba's right hand, Fennec Shand, the female assassin.
Yeah, she's like a sniper.
Yeah, like I like her character too, you know.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
When they had when he remember that one scene where he told her huts off, and then what happened? They send I believe they send assassins at him.
Yeah, they like kind of ninja guys that run across the rooftop.
Yeah. Like I actually like that scene right there. You know, how they fiend them off and all. It was Boba, Fennec Shand versus those guys. So it was definitely a real good action sequence. You know,
yeah, it's almost like a parkour style
fight.
Like with them running up the walls and running across the rooftops and stuff. Like very
on some B-13 type. You know, stuff.
District B-13. And then I think the Axe guys come and aid them there. And also we should note, it's a bit of a spoiler, but as we said, Boba starts this series recovering from all the damage he took from what he dealt with before. So as Max said, he's going around face-to-face diplomacy, trying to figure out the lay of the land, and he gets in these few skirmishes. So he's still taking more damage now when he's trying to heal and just get back to 100%. He's going out in the field and getting into multiple battles where he's like getting shot at and whatnot. You know what I mean? So you're just like, oh my God,
still
you're
trying
like,
to heal.
This guy is a lunatic. Like he's going out every day and pretty much still getting in new fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it was necessary though for someone like him, just because him as a daimyo, he had to prove himself. You know that's his territory, and in order for the people to respect him, he's gonna have to put in work regardless.
Absolutely, I agree. He's doing the footwork, but I mean, like, picture Jabba like doing that. Like, you never seen Jabba do.
Man, Jabba would just send people some green pig assassins.
You never seen Jabba leave that throne, so like, you can't really picture him going out in the streets mowing guys down with a fucking laser rifle. You know what I mean? I was gonna say. So it's a bit of a spoiler. If you want to skip ahead of this part, you're more than welcome to. But we got to talk about the hallucinogenic Tusken Raider ritual. Basically, the final trial. If you ever seen the Tusken Raiders, they fight with those wooden, stick staffs, the wooden staff fighting that they do, and you learn a lot about that. Of a lot more detail goes into why they have those and how they use them, as Mac was saying. And essentially, he takes this little lizard out of the cup and the lizard like jumps on Boba's face. It goes up his nose. Like he thought he was gonna like catch him or something. He's like, oh wait, sorry, mate. I think I ate the bugger. And then it's kind of like when Mike Tyson talks about doing the toad. He totally trips out into Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and stumbles out in the desert. And what that trip has you do is it leads you to that tree with the branches, and like you pick off one of the best branches, one of the right size branches. So he just ends up coming back. Basically, the lizard controls you. He guides you out there and gets you to it, and then you come back on your own. So he comes back all like dehydrated and screwed up and dragging the tree branch with him. And you're like, I kind of thought he was going to make the staff out of that because it was kind of obvious, but I was like, it was the way they did it was awesome though. And then the lizard comes back out of his nose and jumps back in he just goes back to the raider. And then they show Boba how to cut the branch to make it into, the staff. What I would liken it to is like, if you guys remember when Luke Skywalker was going through the Jedi trials, the last trial of a Jedi Knight is to create your own lightsaber. It's a bit similar, akin to that. Like in order to be considered a raider, a Tusken Raider warrior, you have to create your own staff, and they have this ritual for how they cut it. So it was a pretty sick montage when they were showing him how to cut it, and they were doing it together and stuff. And he was really becoming one of them. I thought that was one of the better scenes.
And that's what I liked it, because it's like now you're learning more about what the Tusken Raiders were all about. And, and obviously when you've seen the New Hope in the beginning, you thought it was this savage tribe that just, they roam the desert, obviously, and, you trespass their territory. They're obviously on the defense and they just attack. But in this one, it showed, you're more sympathetic to what, who they are as a species, species and a tribe. And
exactly.
One of the original tribes of that planet, Tatooine. Even Boba Fett said it in there. These men and women and children. They were the original, tribe.
Yeah, exactly.
The original owners of Tatooine.
That's what's interesting is you have all those other tribes coming to Tatooine and trying to take over the cartels and the business and the crime business. And like Boba is kind of telling them like, the sands belong to the Tuskens because they're the original race.
It's their home.
You have all these people trying to come there and do business there, and then the raiders get caught into a lot of collateral damage. Crossfire is collateral damage. But that's what's cool. Like the way they kind of depicted them in the original trilogy, you thought they were just like these savages, these desert savages.
Exactly.
But like Max said, when you get into the mysticism and lore of why they do what they do and whatnot, it makes them. There's a lot more depth to them, which is cool. I mean, there was never any time spent on the Raiders, except for real briefly just showing them. It never really went into, who they are, what they do, that's one aspect I really like about the Book of Boba Fett. Although, like I said, I would have liked to have seen a little more than Tatooine, because basically the whole movie of A New Hope takes place on Tatooine. So you've already seen it a lot, you know what I mean? But it's cool. It's not the end of the world.
I mean, who knows? Maybe it's just the first season. You know what I mean? So maybe it's just like it's got to build itself somewhere. To where Boba Fett will build himself at, and it's got to be Tatooine, obviously, because he has a lot of history himself there. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, Chapter 3, the streets of Mos Espa. I think this is where we get introduced to the Spice Cartel. I don't remember a whole lot of what happens in this one. You have anything on episode 3, Mac?
Yeah. You talking about the episode where he met the freaking Teen Titans?
This is probably where it kind of goes up and down a bit.
Look, I'll say this much: it did introduce some cool characters, like when Boba met the mayor, and most of the Pike Syndicate. In this one, where we learn who they are and what they're about, them running Spice and the train into the Tusken grounds and all that. It had the Pike Syndicate had they pretty much had protectors and bounty hunters with them and such. I forgot the name of that, the Black Wookiee. I forgot what his name.
I got you right here. He's Chris Santan.
Christendom. Yeah, okay.
Christendom.
That guy, man. That guy is.
No, he's amazing. He's So
he's a
just
beast,
to back
man.
up a little bit. So those ninjas that Mac was talking about, they interrogate one who they captured, and then he claims to be hired by the mayor, who they had a disagreement about who should be paying who for the territory in that scene we were talking about before.
Yeah, you know what? He was introduced as episode 2 now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when the twins showed up, the twins are actually Jabba's cousins. It's not his niece and nephew. So they had Christendom with them, and they try to intimidate him. And like Max said, he was just pretty much like you guys don't scare me. You know what I mean? But real quick on episode 2, the Pike Syndicate spice train. That was a fire part. So I was trying to remember where that happened. Fett stole the speeder bikes from a nearby biker gang that I think they tried to frame them from the attack. The spice train kept coming through the Tuscans' territory and just like shooting them down for no reason. So
that was the episode where he taught them how to ride the.
That was a hilarious scene. That was awesome.
But I actually liked that though.
Yeah, it was funny. It was
making them train on more modernized technology.
Yeah. Because they ride on banthas, so they don't really use any speeder bikes or really any. They're more of like a like Max said, like an indigenous tribal race. That was funny. So let's see. So episode 3, that's when Fett's asked by the Watermonger to punish the gang of cyborgs. And honestly, I'd say these are probably, as Mac was saying, probably the corniest characters in the series. They're just young actors, so I don't think any of them.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that concept is sort of cool. Just to have a gang of like half cyborg, half human, or whatever species they are, just pretty much and them being just their own little collective, just roaming the streets, basically as a biker gang and all that. But I think my only little issue with them is just like, it's just a corny youtheism.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same way.
It's like they try to be so like
hip,
and it's like,
and there's no place for hipness on Tatooine. So it's like, I don't know. Like at times they were okay when it was more of just like action sequence. When they first went into their base and they had that like medic guy like working on them and stuff, like it seemed like it was going to be awesome, but then they just like started to annoy me a bit after that. Leave comments below if you guys agree with us, because I wonder what everybody else would think about this.
It's just, my thing is like, yeah, man, they just like half of the time, I think if they would have just shut their mouths.
Yeah, and that's what was best about the firefights. Like you don't have much time for like anything but a one-liner when you're being shot at and they're shooting back. So I'm like, that's when it was tolerable. Then you're watching Boba do his thing and these other characters and stuff. But yeah, when they had like overextended dialogue, like they were pretending like, they were going to strong arm him or something at first. I'm like, he's wearing Mandalorian armor. If he wanted to mow all 5 of you guys down by himself right now and shot like a rocket off his jetpack at you, what would you guys really do about it? But
pretty much knock off 5 of their people and all that. And
yeah, exactly. So he actually ends up like employing them because he needs more troops for the gang. And let's see. Yeah. So it's a thing about the Watermonger, and he has the flashback of finding the Tuscans tribe destroyed by the Nikto gang. Yeah. But as he's in the chamber, Chris Santan rips him out of there and beats the bag out of him. The Teen Shitans, aka the cyborgs, come to help Boba, and pretty much Chris Santan beats the crap out of that whole gang, which was pretty hilarious. Definitely showing the strength of the Wookiee is far superior to these teenage dorks. and they were sent by the Wookiee was sent by the twins, as we were saying. So it's a little bit weird when they come back and they apologize to Boba, and then they say, like, you know, the deeds or whatever from the palace, so they're not even going to seek the land anymore, and they apologize for sending the Wookiee to try to kill Boba. I'm like, dude, I was sleeping in my healing chamber and a giant Wookiee ripped me out and beat the bag out of me, and then you guys show up and apologize for it. It's like I could have got my head ripped off by a Wookiee, and then the twins,
a giant Rancor.
Yeah, the twins, being the scum that they are, they gift Boba a new Rancor for the menagerie pit. Okay, which was cool. Don't get me wrong. Something awesome happens later down the line with that, as Mac knows. But they also leave Chris Saint there too. You know what I mean? If I was him, I would, okay, like, I guess he's kind of like a mercenary or whatever. He's like a mercenary Wookiee, but it's like, dude, I just tried to kill this guy for you guys. Then you guys show up here and apologize to him and then leave me here. It's like, what if these guys freaking kill me? But obviously, exactly. Boba's like not about slavery because he knows what he knows about that, so he lets him go. But if that was anybody else but Lord Boba, they would have freaking killed that guy for trying to kill him, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. And another thing I didn't like about this episode, a waste of a Danny Trejo cameo. Come on.
Oh yeah, let's never say there's no such thing as a waste of a Danny Trejo cameo. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a dope cameo, but I wish it could have used more of him.
I agree with that. I agree with that statement. We started off with talking about how this was a Robert Rodriguez production. If you've ever seen any Robert Rodriguez project ever, you probably guessed that Danny Trejo was going to show up in this picture, which we all did. He shows up as the Rancor keeper. I think he had it posted on like his Instagram and stuff. Mac, I assume you follow him. And I was just like, when he started like talking about it on Twitter, like, hey, look out for Book of Boba Fett tonight, guys. I was like, oh crap, Trejo's going to be in this one. I don't give a shit if it's a 1 second freaking cameo, dude. Danny Trejo is the freaking man. We finally got to see Machete in space, and it was freaking epic. So it's a small footnote, but don't let that go underpass, because freaking there's actually some really good cameos in this show, to be honest, including and some other things we got coming up. You want to move on to episode 4?
Yeah, definitely.
The Gathering of the Storm. He remembers some things in the Bacta tank. Let's see what it says on here. And he partners with Fennec Shand. He remembers trying to reclaim his fire spray gunship from Jabba's palace. But
talking about like the Slave One, right?
Yeah, but that's when he got. I don't think they call it the Slave One anymore, Mac. I don't think that's SJW positive.
Really?
Yeah, we'll cover that at the end. When he discovered Shan dying from a gut wound, he took her to Mos Eisley Mod Parlor, where his life was saved. That's when the cyborg gang fixes her. She's wounded from the crash or whatever, and he requests her to help to break into the palace, now ruled by Bib Fortuna. You guys should know who Bib Fortuna is if you've seen the trilogy. They fight the guards, they retrieve his ship, and she decides to stay with Fett. This part I really like it, Mac. You can let me know what you think. When the biker gang that Fett believed to massacre the Tusken Raider tribe, he hunts them down with the Slave One and completely mows them down. I forgot about this. They fly into the Sarlacc pit to retrieve his armor. So this was actually an epic freaking flashback. Shan killed Sarlacc with a seismic charge. Though Fett did not find his armor inside. In the present, he emerges from the Bacta tank fully healed. So mind you, this is when this is all the way to episode 4, and this is where he first gets fully healed. So this is halfway through the show already. And that's when Chris Santan has that good fight with the Trandoshans in the sanctuary. That was a good fight. He was just beating the bag out of those reptilians because he was drinking beers and they were pissing him off. And then that brothel lady was like, "We'll waive your fee for the bar," and he was like, "No, that's cool." And then he gave her the coins and ripped that guy's arm off. I know Mac like the Wookiees beat the bag out of people.
Yeah, definitely, man. Shoot. Now, definitely though. I mean, obviously the biggest highlight of this was like when he was on the ship, just like mowing them down and all, like the Pike Syndicate and all the bikers and all that, man.
Yeah,
So
hell yeah.
it was really I'm not gonna say like it was one of the best episodes on this.
Yeah, there's some good sequences. I like when he mowed that gang down, and we're about to find out what's up with that. And I like when he took out that Pike train too, like earlier on when he was figuring out how to do it with the he was like gonna like what's the word for that? Like he was gonna like log jam them with the speeder bikes. That's how he taught the Raiders how to. And then like that whole fight on the speed train that was crazy. How he was like working his way up to the front and they were just like mowing down all those guys. I know that's an earlier episode, but yeah, there's some crazy fights. Like we're telling you guys, like the action is there in this show. The action is there. I think it starts to bounce around and become a little bit focused after this episode. A little unfocused after this episode. Let's see.
Yeah.
So it's just more politics between the Pike Syndicate and all that stuff. We won't go too into depth in that if you guys want to watch.
Just watch the show, y'all. Okay.
Yeah. This next one. Now you should, if you like Star Wars, if you like Boba Fett. I mean, I would say this delivered. Like I said, I would have liked it. A couple more episodes longer. I would have liked 8 or 9.
I thought it would have been like 8 or 10 or so. But
I can kind of see why, because of episode 7. I think they might have. I think Rodriguez kind of got them on the budget on that one, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, Robbie, we don't know what to do. It's over." But episode 5, The Return of the Mandalorian. Okay, I gotta say, this is pretty epic.
It is.
I do like this episode. Mandalorian is fire. If you check out our reviews of Mandalorian season 1 and season 2, it's an epic show. Obviously, man, who's our man that plays Mando? I just forgot the actor.
I think it's Pedro Pascal.
Pedro, fucking, and he's awesome. So, Mando makes his return. This is an epic, as Mac was saying, it's basically an epic solo Mando adventure in the middle of the Book of Boba Fett, which is fire. There is one slight problem that we're going to cover at the end, but it definitely gets super extreme. So,
definitely. What I liked about this episode, obviously, is because it's the Mandalorian. We see him again.
Yep.
Not to mention, he's doing what he does best, just like going on collecting his bounty, using the weapons at his disposal against enemies that don't know what they're up against. So,
Mando's cool because he has that kind of hardcore survivalism. Like I'd say Mando's superpower is durability. That guy takes like a freaking insane amount of damage and he just like fights on, you know what I mean? Which is, if you saw season 1 and 2, you know what he's about. But I think they put him to the test in this episode a little bit extra because it's the Book of Boba Fett, and they're like, okay, you want to see another guy wearing Mandalorian armor that's going to go absolutely ham? And then Mando just shows up freaking out of nowhere in the storyline.
Exactly.
So after Din Djarin tracks and kills a bounty, he delivers the bounty's head for directions to a Mandalorian hideout. There he finds the armorer and Paz Vizsla, survivors of the tribe of the Mandalorian warriors, who inspect the dark saber that he won from Moff Gideon. The armorer explains that whoever wins the dark saber in combat can become the ruler of Mandalore, though their civilization was destroyed by the Empire. The armorer turns Djarin's Beskar spear into a gift for his former charge, Grogu, and you guys remember who Grogu is. Vizsla is the descendant of the Darksaber's creator, Tare Vizsla, challenges Djarin to a duel for the saber. Djarin defeats Vizsla, but realized that he previously broke their tribe's code by removing his helmet. Rejected by the tribe, Djarin takes a commercial transport to meet Pele Moto on Tatooine, who has an old N1-style starfighter to replace his previous ship, the Razor Crest. And there's a lot of cool stuff when they're working on the ship and stuff. And he eventually deployed at the end. But let's talk about that fight when Mando comes in the beginning and he goes to meet that guy, and he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for this guy," and that guy's like, "I don't know, I haven't seen him." And then he pulls up the hologram right in front of him, and it's his face, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not an idiot, dude. I have the hologram of you right in front of you." So he ends up toasting that guy, and it's in the back of the factory, butcher shop, whatever.
Him and his like dozen henchmen.
Yeah. So Mando completely snaps on them and freaking lights them up. I think that's such like that might as well be like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre like freaking slasher scene, because he busts out the Darksaber and he starts slicing these guys to freaking smithereens, and then he comes out and there's that crowd of like all the butcher like factory workers. Like I forget what he says to him, but he's something like these guys weren't paying you crap, and if you go in there, you can take, whatever you want. And
whatever you want. Yeah.
So he doesn't have to fight his way through the crowd. They just run past him to go take all the rest of the credits. That was a dope scene. I like that one a lot. That was like that was very like kung fu esque. Like
reminded me of that one scene with and Denzel and the Equalizer. Yeah, man, when he was just getting out the mob boss's money and all that.
yeah, for sure. No, it was very like Western crime, like slash, like, you know what I mean, Peaky Blinders or something like that. But sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that scene. Plus, what was the next action sequence they had? I believe the Darksaber fight.
Yeah, the duel. It's basically his own guy challenges him, and then ultimately, even though he wins the fight, they're like, "Have any of you ever broken the Mandalorian code?" And unfortunately, he has, because as we recovered, spoilers alert, what was that, season 2, Mandalorian season 2, when he was in the Imperial base, he had to take his helmet off to blend in and let his face scan. I feel like it's a little bit BS that their code is that strict. Like, dude, if you are in an Imperial fortress and you have to freaking take your helmet off, or you're going to leave it on so everyone knows that you're a Mandalorian, like, I get their code, but like, what if you get your head blown off because you wouldn't take your mask off? Then the code doesn't really matter anymore.
My thing is, like, in certain circumstances, I think it should have been acceptable, but if it's that strict,
Yeah, it's a strict code. Shout out to the gray stage. Yeah, no, that was wild.
But at the same time, even if you did something like that, I think there should have been a way of like having him redeem himself in some sort of way. Have him go to a trial or something.
I think that they said there is one, right? But I think that's what he went to go do. I think they said like the only recourse is to like, I think that's why he was looking for Grogu, because wasn't he have to go back to Grogu to do something? I forget what it was.
I don't know. I might have missed that part right there, but
yeah, we were just roasting those guys, Greg. That cyborg gang, we call them the Team Titans. They're pretty obnoxious. He agreed with us. He just popped up in the chat. So.
Thank you.
That's one person who agreed. See, guys, we didn't even need to wait for the comments.
No. But I mean, then it comes to like what? Yeah, he needed to get another ship, I believe. So, yeah, man. It's because I think he wanted to see Grogu. Right then, I believe. No. Before he did all that, basically he wanted to have the Mandalorian female leader have her like forge an armor for Grogu, because I think that's what he wanted to go. I think that's what it was. Yeah, you were right. Basically, he had to go and hand that to him, and I believe if he accepted, then maybe I think that's.
I think you might be right. So it was the spear he found, right? Didn't she remelted the spear?
She remelted the spear to make an armor for Grogu. That I'm not gonna get into.
Now I haven't seen the Rebels TV series, Greg. I think our other boy Gaz has possibly seen that one. I know he's seen Clone Wars, but he's not with us tonight. So there's one problem that I've seen Greg point out on Facebook about this episode, and let me flash back a little bit to Mandalorian when Robert Rodriguez directed that first episode when Boba Fett got his armor back and like Mando and Boba helped each other. I was really expecting, and we're going to get into it in a little bit. I was really expecting that they were going to cross Boba over in this Mando episode, and then he was going to help Boba like how Boba helped Mando and Mando. You know what I mean? That's what I was expecting. I was expecting like they're both like, you know, men of honor. They're both guys of their word, and they feel like you held me down back then, so I got to hold you down now. Now that does end up happening, but we're not going to get to it right this second. But Boba Fett's not in this episode at all. It was just Mando. You know,
that was probably the only criticism right there.
That was a little bit. I'm like, bro, we wait all this time for the Book of Boba Fett. And don't get me wrong, Mando's awesome. He's epic, but we've already seen 2 seasons of him, so it's not like he's legendary, but he's not a guy that we've never seen before. And then Boba is just not. I'm like, okay, that was a whole episode without Boba, so that's probably my one criticism of that episode there. And I seen Greg point out before. Shout out to him. He's in the chat.
My thing is like, yo, I know in eventually, you know, he was recruited, but the thing is like, I wish it would have been like had a more longer scene with Boba doing that, you know. So
yeah. So let's get to it when they actually do that. But first, let's briefly run over this one here, which is probably my least favorite of the season. Mac was cool with it. It was a little slow for me. Chapter 6, From the Desert Comes a Stranger. We got my man Cobb Vanth, Marshal of Tatooine's Freetown, formerly Mos Pelgo. You guys, Mac and I referenced that earlier with the Crate Dragon fight. That's when Cobb, who's my man,
Tim Oliphant.
He requested Mando's help to fight the Crate Dragon back then. So that's what was going on with that. Oh yeah, there's an R2D2 cameo in this one. I kind of forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Sure,
decent cameo. Boopity boopity bee. Not like he had any dialogue. Like thanks R2. It's not like he had any dialogue that you would have known. So when Mando goes out there, he meets what's her name, Rosario Dawson, right? And she tells him about the most legendary Jedi Knight in the post-Empire universe, which is Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill is back in all his beautiful CGI glory. We covered this on Mando a little bit.
Before we get into that, let me just state this right
here. You do your thing.
At least the CGI on this one looked a little better than it did on Mandalorian. That's all I gotta say. It looked a little better, and the reason why is because they took the environment of the planet they were on and they used it to the advantage of, like, I guess, you know, shading the CGI very well and all, making it more realistic, like Luke's actual. Not to mention, you can tell they used more of his like features from Return of the Jedi and try to like blend most of that stuff in there too. So I wasn't completely mad at it. Let's just say that.
I mean, Mac knows how a Luke Skywalker fanboy I am. I'm constantly ranting and raving about him. I'm just trying to get over this computer phone version of it.
But I ain't gonna lie though, there was some parts where I feel like computer glitched a little and all.
$100 million and like, damn, we can't edit that out. Screw it. We're rolling. It's Disney Plus. Upload it.
The Luke hologram.
Hi, my name's Luke. What the hell is Jedi Master Skywalker talking about, man? This guy's glitching.
Master Skywalker today, Junior.
Got him. So yeah. Part of the show where the show just goes into chaos. Go ahead, Mac.
But yeah, I can understand why this, to me, though, I'm not going to say it's the best one of the episodes, obviously, because it was obviously, you know, a bit slow, like you said. It was.
This
slow.
is my least favorite. Now, if you are just a guy that can read Star Wars books about droids and dive into all those backstories of the boring characters where nothing happens, and you like it just because it's the Star Wars universe and it's epic to you, that's cool. I think Mac and I are a little bit more into the Sith and the bounty hunters and the the action and the dark side of it. But there's parts where him and Grogu are literally levitating frogs out of the swamps. I don't like when they put the chemicals in the water, making the friggin' frogs. There's some. That's the Alex Jones moment. There's got to be one every time. Yeah. Shout out to Gray State. We finally got the Luke we've been waiting for. They just need to redo 7, 8, and 9. Isn't that the truth? Don't get me wrong. Don't let me sound like a spoiled Star Wars nerd fanboy, because I would have gladly taken a whole trilogy of CGI Skywalker over what they made in the Force Unawakens and the Whack Jedi and all that crap. But I didn't even watch the third one, so I don't know what happens. But again, this was slow for a Book of Boba Fett pace. And mind you, Book of Boba Fett is directed by Robert Rodriguez. It's written by Jon Favreau, so there's a lot of fighting. It's more of a Western style like Mando. Go ahead, Mac.
I feel like this training sequence between Luke and Grogu could have been used a lot better in like a new season of Mandalorian instead of the Book of Boba Fett, because the thing is, like, none of this had anything to do with the Book of Boba Fett, except
that's a good point. I didn't even realize that. When I was watching it, I was so bored for some reason, and I like Luke and all that, but I was just like, dude, it's Luke training a freaking Yoda race, youngling, and I'm like Max said, all this time, Boba was having all these political and diplomatic disputes on Tatooine, and all that stuff was coming to a culmination of all the pressure building up, and he has all these assassins trying to kill him. It didn't. We get introduced to Boba Fett finally in the first episode, and then they hardly come around back to him.
That's true.
Yeah, that was sick. Good point, Gray Stage. Yeah, Luke tried to give Grogu Yoda's lightsaber. There could definitely be something there. If they wanted to do more than that, then I'm watching. But if it's just them frogs in the swamp, I'm out, dude, because it was whack.
I ain't gonna lie, though. I kind of did like that scene because it was like, you seen the movie Shogun Assassin, right? Remember, choose the ball, choose the sword. Well, I think this is one of those ones. I think they took it from that, but they try to.
Oh, definitely. Well, let's keep it real.
That way, you choose the lightsaber. Yeah. You see
for sure. Because that was definitely it, because Star Wars borrows from martial arts, and of course the Hidden Fortress and A New Hope. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. But I kind of did like that reference. Yeah, for sure, man.
No, it was cool, but I'm just like, dude, it was so unfocused and it lost so much steam to the point, like Greg was saying, I like Cobb, but the point when it came back to him, when, as you call him, the fake Clint Eastwood, who's Cad Bane, Oh wait, yeah. So he shoots the marshal and his deputy, and you know what I mean? I was like, by the time that happened, I was checked out of the episode because I was so bored from all that. What the heck planet was that where Luke was building that Jedi temple? I guess that's where he built the original Jedi temple. But I forgot what the name was. But it's a pseudo Dagobah where Luke trained with Yoda, and so they're in the swamps and blah blah blah. I get it; it's all the Empire Strikes Back vibes. But by the time it got back to Tatooine, and then Cad came and mowed down Cobb and that other guy, I didn't even get why he shot them. That's what Max said. Cad looks kind of corny, Greg. I'm not going to lie to you. He looked a little corny.
Yeah, man. Look, dude, I'm sorry, man, but
Mac hated him.
Look. The costume looked cool. Don't get me wrong. The dark hat, the freaking dark trench coat and all that. He looked like
Yeah.
a straight up like Undertaker,
Yeah,
freaking cowboy and all that, ready to take
Unforgiven.
someone's. But then once he lifted his head up and all that, and I
The
saw that
blue face.
that blue face looking like from that video game Destroy All Humans, man. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
no.
He looked a little too Jar Jar Binks for my
kid. And he tried to talk with that grizzly. Yeah, Marshall, we're gonna run this spice.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Now, let me come full circle on that, because it felt so generic dialogue, because he's like, Cobb's like, what the heck's this guy doing here, bro? And then he just starts ranting and raving about the spice and the syndicate cartel, and he's like, as long as the spice flows, everything will remain normal. Like, dude, that's not going to work. You have the Tusken Raiders living in the desert. They're just going to raid any outworlder that comes through their territory. You have all these other gangs that are going to fight for power. So he walked up like he was going to do some badass stuff, and then he literally shot the two guys that like weren't even looking for him. So,
but I think the reason why is because I think Freetown was like that area where you don't have too much Tusken interference.
Yeah, because they have like a uneasy alliance or whatever. But okay, so he was trying to secure that territory. Okay, but like the way, couldn't he just walk up and told them that? Like, the only reason he shot them both is because the deputy flinched. So if he could have just said like, okay, whatever, we're not gonna, because obviously Cobb is probably not gonna stop that by himself. So he could have just said like, okay, we're not gonna do anything right now. And then that guy just leaves, and then he just calls Boba and Mando like, hey, we got a tough guy down here. We're gonna need some backup. You know what I mean?
Dude, that dude's eyes look like two giant red light bulbs. Like, I can't stand it.
He's a wankster. Let's get into the good stuff. The final amalgamation of one of the most epic sci-fi action series of all time. Episode 7, In the Name of Honor.
In the Name of Honor. Yeah, man. This was definitely the build-up.
R2-D2 aligns with Grogu, which I don't have much on that, guys. It's just it's just a side story. You know what I mean?
Look, I just to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
The reason why Grogu was in there is for fan service, obviously. And second, they just wanted to like let people know the Mandalorian is coming back. So that's just it, you know. But other than that, I think Grogu could have been better for the Mandalorian. So
I agree. I don't think they really.
But that's it. That's all I. That's
as much Mandalorian, and I have a little bit of feedback, as Mac calls it, the cutesy scenes in this episode. It was like it was almost going to be perfect. Like, they had a giant battle. The combat and action sequences were amazing. But they just did, the Disney Marvel corniness influence at certain parts where it just didn't fit, like Robert Rodriguez is not like, what is this, Spy Kids 3D? Like, I don't understand. So Bane and the Pikes confront Fett, Shand, and Djarin outside the remains of the sanctuary, where Bane reveals that the Pikes killed Fett's Tusken Raider tribe and framed the biker gang. Quite frankly, it looked like he was going to learn that before this point anyway, but it was just like somebody talking crap to him about it. The other crime families betray Fett, which I feel like was pretty predictable, and attack his soldiers throughout Moist Espa. Fett and Djarin send Shaze's Major Domo to distract the Pikes, allowing the pair to attack the group if they are soon outnumbered. Freetown citizens and the cyborgs arrive to save the pair, but the group are overwhelmed by two shielded Scorpenek droids. Moto arrives with Grogu, who helps Djarin destroy. We'll get into the fight, but basically, this giant war ensues, as you guys have seen, because there's all these cartels and crime families that have just been doing this crime throughout here.
I'll be real with you, bro. This was like the OK Corral version,
Western style, massive shootout, akin to an unforgiving ending, or one of those Western films that just amalgamates.
Definitely Western-esque.
The spaghetti westerns, the Fistful of Dollars trilogy and whatnot. But
definitely Western-esque.
it's all in the streets. It's in the dusty streets, like Mac was saying. The street shootouts outside the buildings and whatnot, and it breaks out into a giant, basically a giant war. You could call it a battle, but it's just like So what me and Mac were saying before of like we want to see Boba and Mando team up and help each other, like how they're helping each other in that Mando episode. Well, that's what happens, except just put them two in front of a backdrop of a giant war in the city going on around them. So it's like all out melee, all just complete chaos.
Just Boba's gang versus the Pike Syndicate, just going back and forth,
just mowing down everybody. The sniper chick on top on the rooftops, just completely dusting people, and then just like Boba busts out, I think, everything on his armor. I think Mando uses everything on his armor too.
Yeah, he did.
Shin guards. They
took a lot of damage too. They taking shots like crazy.
They use the whips. Yeah, they both take like 500 shots each. You know what I mean? It's freaking ridiculous. And it's basically just them two. Like the other guys are all hiding, taking cover, and Boba and Mando are just standing out front, just completely mowing guys down, like not even taking any cover. They use their jetpacks here and there towards the end, which is cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to see them fly around and smoke some guys, but this is the best episode, I'd say, Mac. Besides,
I agree. I totally agree.
Sick fights. Obviously, Mac's boy Chris Santan comes jogging down the street and just beats the bag out of like 20 guys melee, because that's what Wookiees do. He takes like 500 shots too, and he doesn't have any armor on, so total lunatic. You know what I mean?
For real, man.
So they get ambushed. There's the two Scorp droids, the massive Scorp droids, and they have like super powered shields. So it takes a long time to get those shields down. Mando is out there with the dark saber. He's trying to freaking saw through that stuff, and yeah, it gets hella crazy. And
of course, freaking Cad Bane charms blueberry lollipop and all that, gets into the mix of all.
Yeah.
I won't discuss his fate on this one, so I'll let you figure it out for yourselves.
Yeah, you guys can figure it out. It's fairly obvious that they get the shields down and they take out the Scorp droids. Obviously, at some point, we'll just blow this one because it doesn't even matter. It's because the Rancor has not really done much until this scene. Boba freaking goes and gets the Rancor out of the castle and pretty much just comes in riding on it, and just like that's how they take out one of the Scorps, and that thing did crazy.
Yo, when the Rancor came in, it felt like King Kong now.
That's what it reminded me of too. He was climbing. They definitely got some King Kong influence from that scene, because he climbed that tower.
Climbed that one tower, yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely Kong right there. And that's what you want to see. I mean, do you want to see a giant monster rampage a city in any other fashion than...
For real, man. Sure. But yeah, I mean, all in all, though, I enjoyed it. Though it was a very entertaining episode. I thought, like, this is, if you had to end that season, it would definitely have to end like that.
And that's why I respected him going short on the season, because I was like, freaking Rodriguez ran the budget up so much in that episode that they're probably like, dude, you could do 9 or 10, or you could just go crazy in this one and then just wrap it after that. So I think he just went with that, because it's Rodriguez, man. He ends every project he does in a massive shootout. You know that he wanted to end it with a bang. So
pretty much, man.
Perfect Western director. So
like Once Upon a Time in Mexico was even best of the trilogy. Yeah, that ended in a crazy shootout.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, even that one's not even good, but he's gonna end it. Like a true mariachi trilogy. So pretty much the only thing that was corny was just Grogu's little goofy ass using the Force scenes that were just in between the shootouts, and it just got a little bit too Disney-esque. I get that you gotta market the show to 5-year-olds, but it was.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I didn't care for much for that, just because like we all know Grogu was trying to learn the Force, and obviously for the fans and all that, I guess they want to see how far he might have gotten in his training and all that, which is cool. But like I said, it's something like this could have been used in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I agree.
To use it in the Book of Boba Fett, you would figure like, oh, he's a freaking crime boss or freaking Tatooine, like gritty crime, Star Wars. That's something new. Holy crap!
Crime,
but but they didn't use that route. And
No.
yeah, it had several Western references.
Mhm.
It had a lot of obviously Star Wars, everything you loved about Star Wars in there,
Mhm.
action wise and all that, the Jedi lore, all that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even show more of like
Lightsabers, the dark saber.
the more cultural aspects of the of the tribes that we never knew about in the Star
Yep.
Wars lore. Like you heard of the
Yep.
Tusken Raiders, but you didn't know how they lived, how they trained,
Yep.
how they survived. Like it's stuff like that. I mean, they could have like went all the way with the season 4.
Yeah, and that's why I said about it being unfocused, because they had those couple episodes that kind of like wavered in the middle, just as far as the pacing. Then you just come directly into that full Mando episode with no Boba, and then you go into that full Luke episode that hardly has Boba, and then it goes into that giant war after. So you know what I mean? The pacing did get. That's probably my only criticism, is just the pacing was off. But like Max said, I mean, the action is definitely there, especially in that last episode. There's a lot of good things about it, but yeah, they just did too much with the cutesy Grogu scenes, with just changing the sound to give him that corny soft background music, so you know when it's going to be a Grogu scene, and then he puts basically. We'll just blow it because I already said that the Rancor comes out. Basically, the Rancor rampages, and he can't turn it off after they unleash him. So he just starts pretty much going rogue at everybody. And then like Grogu comes out and puts the Rancor to sleep and saves him. And then he passes out next to him, and just the corniest, like cutesy sleeping next to the Rancor scene. Yeah, he does need to go back with Luke. I agree, Greg. So yeah, no, I'm 50-50 on her too. I like the actress, but I don't love her live action performance.
Yeah, but I guess we don't know what direction they might take it. So maybe they just did that just because, like, maybe something else will happen in the Mandalorian. Well, he will return to Luke. Who knows?
Oh no, probably. But here's my whole thing. Like what Mac was saying. Like they felt like they needed to add Mando and Grogu into Book of Boba Fett because they needed a reason to sell it to us. Like they needed a reason to, they pulled a Marvel. Like, how Marvel always has that end credit scene with like 20 Avenger characters in it. So you're like, oh, it is connected to the next one. Cool. Like that's the Disney blueprint now. They felt that, oh my God, if we don't have Mando and Grogu, how will they know that it's the post Return of the Jedi universe? And it's like, bro, we already know that. Like, you don't need to tell it to us. Like Mac was saying, just let action be action. Focus on the crime and the gangs, the cartels, and the crime families, and Boba Fett being the Lord, crime boss, and and the bounty hunter history, and the action, and the indigenous tribes. Like Mac was saying, lean into the stuff that already works and just focus on that. We don't need the extra stories we already heard.
Exactly. Not to mention, Return of the Mandalorian. Sure, why not? But the thing is, after that episode, take that element out real quick, and let's go back to Boba Fett. And
yeah. Hopefully, I agree with what Max said right there. Hopefully, they can just, if they do Mandalorian season 3, they can bring all that back into Mandalorian, and when we get back to Boba Fett season 2, just do Boba Fett and focus on it. I mean, if Mando comes in for an episode and they fight together, it cool. But don't go back to the homeland and get Luke and Grogu. It's like we don't need it.
And then show Mandalorian in season 4, aka Boba Fett season 2.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, because what's the point of having different seasons if you're just gonna have the same characters repeat in every single?
Yeah, I mean, I get what they're trying to do, but
they're doing too much salesmanship, like Max said. Like you don't need to tie it all in together for us. Like we know, like it's a big enough galaxy that you can go to a new planet in every episode. Like that. Exactly. I would love to see just like a bounty hunter series where they just go around and explore, and they just take contracts at different like a different place every episode. Like kind of how Mandalorian was doing that at first, like when they were bouncing around a little bit, you know what I mean? But it's whatever.
Exactly.
I think that's pretty much everything. Shout out to the Gray Stage. Shout out to Mac the Critic. The Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, directed by Robert Rodriguez, written by Jon Favreau. Definitely check it out if you're a Star Wars fan. If you like The Mandalorian, Season 1 or 2, there's definitely a lot there for you to get onto here. It was, I mean, it did deliver. I mean, I guess Mac and I can do our ratings. I feel like I'm pretty high on it, Mac. So I'll maybe
I'm gonna sound pretty high. I could go first.
I'll let you lead us off.
For this one, I'll give it shoot.
Now he's
I'm
stuck.
debating back and forth. You know what? I give it an 8. I give it an 8.
All right. Yeah. I co-sign Mac's assessment. You can see that the Book of Boba Fett has it's kind of blurry for you guys. It has a 7.5 on IMDb, and I actually gave it an 8. So it looks like me and Mac were both 8s. But yeah, you get everything in there. You get the R2 cameo. You get the freaking Luke CGI walker. You get Boba. You get freaking Mando. And there is some crazy fights. I do. The action is very akin to I would say that Mando episode when Boba made his debut in Mando and they got his armor back. It's basically like take that and stretch it out for a season.
Exactly, man. Shoot, and that's what they should have done, I guess. But in the end of the day, hopefully they'll learn in the next one. If not, then what can I say? It's Disney.
Yeah, I know. That's the big point is Disney butt and the other things that they have on there, such as Moon Knight. And that what I heard was the viewership was really dropping off bad on Boba Fett towards the end of the season. I don't think they were doing a very good job promoting it. As Max said, it is Disney, so mismanagement is their middle name when it comes to IP franchises. So it's kind of rough to see him go out this way. But as Max said, I mean, I could kind of see them, see why they went with this as opposed to just a one-off, standalone solo movie because they were able to expand the storyline and the through lines of the story arcs a bit more in the season, like Max said. So
yeah, but the thing is, this is one thing I believe about shows sometimes and movies sometimes. It's like you leave, let's say you show it now, it's not gonna buzz. Probably won't buzz then, but then later on, it'll probably give a buzz, and then probably even like huge, and then all of a sudden, okay, let's make a second one. So you never know. But at the end of the day, you could tell the Mandalorian has already overlord us on this one. So we could definitely expect a season 3 on that soon. But
hopefully, yeah.
In the meantime, enjoy Boba Fett for what it is. Y'all can watch it. Enjoy it for what it is.
It's a good
watch it with your kids.
There's good action. If you like action adventure, it's definitely in there. I mean, my only thing was like Mac was saying, like the reason kind of why I wanted a Boba Fett movie was this. Like, think about it. Like they made a solo film. Solo. You know what I mean? So like he's practically the main character in the original trilogy. You know what I mean? So it's like, do we really need more of him? He was already the most famous character ever. And they actually threw an entire movie budget on that to make a solo prequel. So I'm just thinking to myself, okay, well, Boba Fett had like 5 minutes screen time in the original trilogy. If they would have took a solo level budget and threw that at Boba Fett, I just wanted to see him get the movie budget, basically. And if Robert Rodriguez directed that like a friggin' Desperado or a freaking, mariachi or something, it would have been ridiculous. Imagine if he made Boba Fett like a vigilante revenge killer, like a mariachi. You know what I mean? It would have been
man.
So,
and we really would have had the Danny Trejo cameo we expected.
But instead of those throwing knives, he would have had to have like little lasers or something. But when he was the hitman. But yeah, that was my whole thing. I mean, Rogue One was sick, so I was like, it would have been cool to see like a Rogue One style Boba. But like Max said, Book of Boba Fett, it's pretty fire. Check it out, guys. We'll be back soon. Mac, you got to check out One Shot with Scott Adkins. I just watched it. It was fire. So
definitely will check.
If you guys have any recommendations, shoot them in the comments. We'll be back soon. I'm not really sure what we're on, but we're looking to get some Scott Adkins stuff, some kung fu action, definitely some action. So look out, guys. Paradigm Review Show. Like, sub, share. Anything else, Mac?
I don't know, man. Maybe the force be with you, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. This is the way. Lord Boba Fett. This is the
way.
Like, sub, share. We out.
Mandalorian season 3 coming soon.
We hope.